In this video, we'll demonstrate how to winterize a motorcycle or ATV. It's important that you store your machine the correct way to not only protect it, but to also have it ready to ride when riding season comes around. We've put together this video to hit all the main points of preparing your bike for storage, and this not only goes for winter storage, but it can also be applied to storing your bike for an extended period of time as well. We'll be working on a 1996 Harley-Davidson Softail Fat Boy. These steps can be used to get just about any machine ready for storage. So the first step of winterizing is to basically perform a full service on the motorcycle. For your Harley owners, this means changing the motor oil and filter, along with the tranny oil and primary case oil. For those shaft-driven bikes, it's a good idea to change the rear diff case or final drive fluid when you change the motor oil. We're doing this to remove any contaminants that have made their way into your oil or fluids, which could potentially cause damage if they are left inside the bike during its storage. Make sure you're replacing the crush washers or O-rings on each drain bolt to prevent any leaks. It's also a good idea to check your bike's coolant if it's liquid cooled. Antifreeze typically lasts a couple years, so if you're unsure of the condition of your coolant, it's best to just go ahead and change it. If your bike is chain driven, you want to make sure the chain has been thoroughly scrubbed and cleaned and then coated with a good high quality chain lube. So after all the fluids have been changed, the next step is to wash the machine. You want to make sure and get all the dirt and grime off the surfaces to prevent any rusting or corrosion. When you've done that, it's important that you wax the painted surfaces and polish the chrome surfaces to keep them protected and prevent any scratching. At this point, you'll also want to coat any leather on the bike with a good leather protectant. If you aren't equipped with a heated garage, you'll want to bring any leather that you can inside to further protect it. This will typically be the seat and the saddlebags if you've got them. The next step is to take care of the fuel system. Regardless of which bike you have, it's crucial that the fuel tank is completely full of fuel. The more room in the fuel tank, the more likely you are to get water contamination, which speeds up the fuel breakdown. If your bike has a metal fuel tank, any extra room can be subject to rust when the fuel sweats and causes condensation inside the tank. To keep the fuel fresh and prevent any grime or varnish from forming, you'll need to add a specified amount of fuel stabilizer to the fuel. Each bottle of stabilizer will have directions indicating how much treatment to how much fuel, and we'll go ahead and add this to ours. Now you want to start the bike and let it run for a few minutes. This will allow the treatment to make its way through the entire fuel system, including the carburetor or injectors. Doing that's going to coat everything and prevent any varnish from forming, which could potentially clog the small passages in your fuel system. Next comes the battery storage, and there's a couple different ways to do this. Again, if you don't have access to heated storage for your bike, it's going to be best to remove the battery from the bike and store it in a heated room to prevent any water in the battery from freezing and causing discharge. It's also important to use a battery tender when storing a battery to keep it at 100% charge, as any discharge of the battery can shorten its life. This battery tender comes with a pigtail connector that you can install on the bike and just leave there to make connecting the tender easier. Just tuck the end up under the seat. When it comes time to connect it, pull that lead out, pull off the cap and connect it to the tender. These battery tenders are designed to fully maintain the battery and can be left on as long as the battery isn't in use. When you're ready to ride the bike, simply unplug the tender lead and tuck the lead coming from your battery back up under the seat. So now we've got the oil changed, the bike washed and waxed, the fuel treated, and the battery tended. We're now ready to park the bike. First things first, you want to check the tire pressure for each tire to make sure they're both at the recommended pressure. This is also something you want to make sure and check before taking the bike back out of storage to ride. Now if your bike is equipped with a center stand, it's going to be best to get it up on that stand to get most all the weight off the tires. For the sport bike riders, it's a good idea to get the bike up off the ground using the wheel and fork stands. If you've only got a kickstand to support your bike, you'll want to roll the bike forward or backwards a couple feet once a month to keep the tires from possibly forming a flat spot. A motorcycle floor jack is another way to support your bike and keep the weight off the tires. And shop mats are another popular method to further protect your tires and keep them from sitting directly on the concrete. The last step of putting your machine away for the off-season is to cover it up. We're going to use one of the Tusk motorcycle covers on this bike, and the important thing to keep in mind is you want the machine to be able to breathe. This will keep any moisture from getting trapped underneath, preventing any damage to your motorcycle or ATV. And that's all there is to getting your machine ready for storage. If you have any questions about anything you saw in this video or about preparing your machine, feel free to give us a call at 1-800-336-5437. Rocky Mountain ATV MC carries all the parts and tools you need to properly store your motorcycle or ATV and also have it ready to ride when you are. Thanks for watching.